Hi, Pastor Charlie here for New Hope Lutheran Church. Welcome to Pastor Charlie's Toolbox. So today I got thinking about wood and how strong wood can be. Now, when we're working with wood, I've got a couple pieces here, we tend to think that the thicker lumber is stronger than the thinner lumber. Look at these two pieces. It seems obvious that this thicker piece, which is almost double the thickness of this one, is going to be stronger. It's going to hold more weight. It'll have more strength. And with most wood, you'd be right about that. But what if we're asked to work with something like a piece of plywood? We might be tempted to be a bit disappointed with plywood because, especially compared to this one, it's pretty thin in comparison, and we might think, well, it's got to be weaker because we know thickness matters. Is it really going to hold up as well as an ordinary piece of lumber? What we may not realize is that the problem with regular boards is that the grain goes from one end to the other end, and that actually can be a weakness because, well, given the right conditions, a board can split. Let me show you. Just like that. Now, we try that with plywood. Hardly makes a mark. Just a little bit in the end. We might ask, why is that? How can it be that a thin piece of lumber like this is stronger than a piece this thick? Well, it's the way plywood is made. I spoke about the grain of the wood earlier, and when they make plywood, they take a log, and it's like a spool spun around, and they take really thin cuts of lumber, which is called veneer, off the log, and they lay them out in layers. And when they do that, they lay out one layer with the grain going one way, and then on top of that they glue another layer with the grain going the other way. And they just keep doing that until they get the thickness they want. This one, for instance, this little piece of wood has like 7 layers of veneer. So they're going both ways. And because the grain does not run in one direction only, but actually in several different directions, even a thin piece of plywood, it may not look strong, but it really is. Now, I want to use this as an example to explain why most faithful Christians can appear to be exceedingly strong even in the most horrible conditions. Take our lesson for today from Mark 6 here. It starts out telling us how Jesus and his disciples had been working hard. It had been a long day, and they decided to take out a boat, get away from people, and get some rest over on the other side of the lake. In doing that, they were thinking they could get some peace and quiet, but when they got to the other side, they found word had gotten out they were coming, and another crowd of people was over there to meet them. These people wanted to hear Jesus preach. They wanted to be healed. They wanted to be around Jesus, which were all the things that they had left the other side of the lake to avoid. Now, for most people, this is where they would split. Just split like a straight grain piece of wood that's been hit by an axe. People might get upset. They might break down and cry. They might just turn the boat around and float in the lake. But that's not Jesus. In spite of needing rest, Jesus instead saw how much others needed him. And he feels for those people and goes to work with them, healing and teaching with the disciples right beside him. In a lot of ways, Jesus, in this case, is like this piece of plywood. Even though he's hit with more to do than he might have hoped, he doesn't split or crack because, unlike people who only think about worldly things and their minds go only one way, Jesus also has godly things on his mind as well. As Christians then, our grain, or the way we live and think about this world, is to run two ways. First of all, we do exist here on earth and we do things people do on earth, but our hearts are to be on heavenly things and what needs to be done to be helping others. So you could say our grain runs two different ways. This way, earthly and heavenly, and the glue that holds us together is Christ. So don't be disappointed. Don't crack up when you're asked to do one more good thing. Don't turn away when you've been helping out 10 people and an 11th person shows up. Even in our exhaustion, we are to look to Jesus as our example and guide, and we are to turn to God for help, guidance, and strength, and we are to take our rest when we get the chance. So allow your grain, allow the way you live to run in heavenly and earthly directions and be strengthened by it.